Howdy, all you delicious people. I was a little bit under the weather the last few days, and also doing been trying to do workouts lately, and that takes a lot of time-consuming things. So I apologize if I'm not always here. So I apologize for that. So I am to have tried to do this video a number of times. That's what also uh, really is to be my biggest problem is like I take way too much time on a nothing burger video, but like that's how much I just care about certain projects and I want to put my best foot forward for everything cuz I really do care. So, my apologies. So, there was a temptation to start this video off talking about modern television and all the things that I saw that I didn't care to really go on in depth and talk about on a video anywhere. Maybe at some point it is tempting to do a short about it, just so that way I can get that therapeutically out. But also, I can take the time right now to just briefly talk about this stuff and then get to the point that I want to make, which is just me just trying to rant and pitch something. So please bear with me when I am to go on and talk about stuff that I had seen that did not end up getting reviewed upon this channel. I'm sorry, a lot of these things are probably also going to be negative because if they were positive, then definitely they would be something that would have gotten reviewed upon this channel. So, there are shows that have been way out there for way too long that I also am actually tempted to review. One of them is to actually be Creature Commandos. Yeah, you know that show? That Really? You want to review that thing? How long has that been out? I know, but it's a supernatural show. And in all honesty, I had randomly seen some YouTube video lately about somebody kind of briefly mentioning about Creature Commandos. And it honestly became more appealing to me after seeing that clip. It honestly did. And I never talked about it, reviewed it, or anything on this channel. Um, because, in all honesty, for a lot of recent superhero stuff, I almost pretend it doesn't exist up until the point to where I can finally get some kind of something like Lanterns or Swamp Thing or whatever is to be a future MCU project because I don't even know if I could really care about Doomsday at this point. The whole lead up to it has just been nothing burgers for the longest time. Well, like I did like Thunderbolts, but even that was just kind of like, nah. That's what that movie really was. So, but so let's briefly talk about these shows. I had gone on to watch Fallout Season 2. I reviewed Season 1 on the channel, and like I would go on to say that I'm to be a fan of the Fallout games. I've played a number of them. Like I got to Fallout 3, and I kind of played everything else for a good chunk of time. And so I played Fallout New Vegas. And when I heard that this second season was to be that, I was like, great! Like, that's a game that I loved. And then I watched the show, and I'm like, man, you have made Fallout some kind of boring. Man, like, it was really interesting in that first season when they had a lot of character stuff to just kind of fill the time. Because once that character stuff is to kind of be wrapped up, In the second season, there is nothing for them to really do that really mattered to me. They brought in the death claws, and it's like, yeah, death claws. Like, I know how difficult those were, because eventually I would stumble upon an area where I'd go on and need to kill them, and oh my god, were they just so difficult. You would really need to go on and need to kill them one by one, and even that, you would have to be lucky if you can even do that. Good grief. But anyways, just Fallout Season 2 was a nothing burger. And so I just couldn't for the life of me, beyond what I'm telling you here, take the time to want to talk about it. Then I saw The Burbs. The Burbs is to be a show that is to have a cameo of Corey Feldman and a picture of Tom Hanks. It's a show that is to be a stretched out version similar to the movie, but this show just feels like a content filler. If you really took off the title, I wouldn't go on and say that this could be The Burbs. I would be like, is this Desperate Housewives? What is this show? Oh, it's The Burbs? I wouldn't have known. Because, yeah, like, it just doesn't come off as The Burbs to me. It doesn't. So, that was a loss. Star Trek Starfleet Academy. I can like that the show is to try to appeal to what seemingly looks like a young audience, because it needs to fill some kind of quota gap that the other Star Trek shows just didn't fill. So, I guess huzzah for that accomplishment. But Starfleet Academy, to me, is a show that really is like, well, I guess they've just tried to do everything in Star Trek. And they've also done this. Why, I don't know, but they did it anyways. So, then we'd go on to Wonder Man, another slam dunk of just Marvel show, right? If you weren't going to go on and do this content in a comic book, why take the time to do it on a show? I'm very confused. But anyways, so let's talk about more comic book stuff. So, and like let's not take the time to do any more of the MCU stuff, right? Let's not take that time. Anyways, so I would go on to have watched Zombieverse and Zombieverse New Blood. And regardless of how I felt about that second season, I think there's a lot of potential there, in all honesty. You have a reality show that doesn't have people getting voted off by every episode, and you have a show that is to go on to feel very character driven, and like, I like a zombie apocalypse, doesn't everybody? So it had some good points. It tried to do something that I'll say goes in the win column. I wish that they would have had a sleep aid as a weaponized thing, or a tranquilizer dart as a weaponized thing, because that would have been a cool idea. But now, uh, what was this whole video about? This idea here. So, when looking at Zombieverse, I honestly would look at it and just be like, man, there's a lot of potential here. Should go on and do this kind of same idea, but with different kind of genres of stuff. But like, I also can say you could expand upon Zombieverse and make it a monster world. You could say that um, the whole antibodies thing could go on and morph the zombies into other different kinds of monsters, creatures, things, and what have you. And you could continue on this path if you have a way to do a season 3. You can go on and do a monster world thing, or a monster verse in zombie verse. I don't know. You could just call it zombie verse monsters and huzzah. Uh, I have I have a definitive knowledge in supernatural stuff. Like I had watched the show Supernatural and everything supernatural. Like there's so much just garbagey knowledge that I have of supernatural things. It's redonkulous. Anyways, so beginning to my point. So I would like to take this idea specifically and do it with superheroes. Like we could have a superhero show that's in a reality like world, which probably doesn't make any sense to anybody. Cause it's like, wait a minute. Superheroes in a reality thing? Yeah, because the decisions that the characters make, that's reality. Like, yeah, these characters will all have their own certain personas. That's reality. That's the person's choice. Or also, we could go on and make up all these superheroes specifically for the show, and then just find these cast people that would fit these personas. And like, I think that people would have to learn stage fighting because there would have to be fighting going on in the show. Like for Zombieverse, no one ever fought anybody. Like there is some kind of levels of zombies needing to be tied up. There was a guy that bear hugged somebody, but there was never actually combat. There was weapons sometimes being used, but again, uh, stage combat is different than normal combat because if anything, you could have a person standing here and the punch could come in and whiff. Yeah, like that's, and then the person would act like they got hit, but there is no actual combat. There's not actually contact going on. It's just this. And the person's like, "Oh, my stomach," or "Oh, my bladder," "Oh, my body." Anyways, so that's stage fighting. It's all fake. It's all camera angles. It's not real. So, and hopefully, if you throw a kick in the air, hopefully it doesn't actually land in someone's face. Anyways, so that could be something that also could be uh, very small amounts on the show, as well as also it may not even exist on the show because maybe there's a way around it. Um, there's a way to try to avoid that stuff. Who knows? But anyways, so going on uh past that, like I would like to have this try to be its own thing. I'm not going to go on and say that this is going to be a superhero reality show that is to just copy all of the popular superheroes and put them on this show and be like, oh man, yeah, like um, Superman, Batman, Green Lantern, all the Justice League members, they're on the show, and they're facing off against Brainiac. Ooh, and it's a reality-based thing. Ooh, what's gonna happen here? If anything, there is bit of footage that I've seen in Disney World where you have characters dressed up as Marvel superheroes and they're doing skits all over Disney World or Disneyland or wherever the heck that is. I would go on to see that stuff and it'd be like, yeah, that's not what I'm trying to do here. So that's like, I want to create original superheroes, I want to create original villains. And if there's an IP that this somehow gets attached to, like a DC or a Marvel, because somebody somewhere really wants to collab with this project, then by all means, I can then tailor the show to connect with whatever that IP is. But, anyways, I would like to go on and just make this to be its own thing. Uh, I would honestly like to have this to be similar to Justice League Unlimited, or um, really to remind us of the good times when it comes down to like superhero stuff, where uh, we would go on to have every episode end up being either like an alien invasion, a zombie apocalypse, or just the Joker is to run rampant and then the Justice League would have to figure out a way to stop him. And then there'd be goons and henchmen that would get in the way of the Justice League. Oh no, what's gonna happen? Yeah. Um, so it'd be kind of a show like a lot about that. But if anything, again, like we're not copying and pasting from any of that. As far as like, oh, is the Joker gonna be on this reality show? No, no. If anything, I'm not even gonna try to do like the Jester, or the Jester is a Daredevil villain character, so that's not gonna happen either. Uh, if anything, maybe we can have the Joker as a superhero, because that's also been a thing. Everything's been tried. You can't have the Joker be anything. You can't have him even be the guy who laughs in here, because yeah, that's been done also. Anyways, so and that's not anything I'd want to do anyways. But so what's my point here? So if this was successful, if you could do multiple seasons of it, you can do one season that focuses on the superheroes. In the second episode, or the second season, you can go on and have characters that don't have much of a backstory. Because I'm hoping the superheroes in the first season, you take the time to give them all backstory. In the second season, you can have these people that don't have as much of a backstory for an obvious reason. Because by the end of season 2, you come to find out that all of them are actually villains. You just didn't know. You just didn't realize. And eventually by the end of season 2, you go on to find all these little extra little clips that reveal that these people are bad people. And then by the end of season 2, we have a cameo from a superhero from season 1 that comes back and arrests all of the villains. And that's to wrap up season 2. And it's okay. Like, prison is a revolving door, so people escape all the time. Um, Basically, arresting anybody is meaningless. You would actually have to kill somebody to definitively have that be a way to get rid of somebody. But even that, check out the Robot Chicken special where Batman goes on and says, "Yeah, it's pointless to be teary-eyed and give a crap about anyone who dies in this world because they'll just come back." X number of comic book issues later, and you'll have completely forgotten they have died. Uh, or you'll get some secret amulet or some goofy thing. Yeah, that's the whole thing. So, so after season two, then we could go on, and if season one and two were successful, and season three, I think it would be kind of fun if you had a heroes team, a villains team, and it would be like a fight out of, or either that, or we can do the Marvel Alliance thing, where the two of them would have to be like fighting off against the threats. They'd have to work together, or yeah, you can do like the Legion of Doom versus Justice League, and who's going to be the better character, who's going to make an interesting thing, uh, and or maybe we can have an all-star season, best of season one and season two. Well, there's a problem there, because the best of heroes of season one and the best of villains for season two, yeah, like that, we'd have to go on. We have to have like new heroes also, so that's not gonna work. So new heroes and new villains. I'm trying to do the math here. Like we would have to have like we have to have like 5 seasons in order to do that. Because if we alternated, uh, yeah, we'd have to have like 2 seasons of 2 heroes and 2 seasons of 2 villains, and then do um, the big season where it's like the best of, and that would probably be wrapping up the season. Because I'm sure, like, it probably wouldn't even make it to season two. So, uh, if it did make it to season two, then I would do the villain idea. Um, but if it made it to, if it, I don't know, probably have to rethink that through and have to do the math, because really, it would depend on what kind of characters could I come up with for the following season if I'm still working on the project at all. Because yeah, I'm sure I'd be spearheading this whole thing, right? No. Um, this project will probably never even see the light of day. But I'm thinking way chess moves ahead of time for a project that's imaginary. Anyways, so but if anything, also like it would be uh, a project that would have to have a certain power set of people, and I think we can kind of get away with a lot of stuff. Like I would, of course, like to have like supernatural powers, and like I think for me, I would try to figure out what is to be less used in comic books, and definitely showcase it here. Uh, there was a DC character that I think was called like Nightshade or something like that, and they had like this weird kind of construct of powers that kind of had them be able to kind of create anything. And I think that would be interesting as like a thing to use as a power. A lot of people go on and be like, well, what is a Green Lantern? What is a Blue Lantern? What is blah blah blah. Like they kind of have that same exact thing. Why waste the time and have that kind of power? Because it'd be different. Because it'd be kind of fun. As well as also, uh, I would have this character to have been either part of a certain um, people of things, and eventually that will play out into the show. Because eventually, I don't want to give anything away. But because here's the thing. So this is a supernatural character, and I had this whole idea that he was tied to this faction, and this faction could come in and be like, well, hey, this guy is to go on and to supposedly not work with these people because he's supposed to be neutral, and he's not neutral if he's working with his team. That starts to get conflict, and so that ends up going on to have this faction need to act. Or we can just have an onslaught of supernatural things start to happen in the show, which we can really uh, kind of really concrete the episodes to what's going to go on, because I'm not even sure. Because what I wanted to do is I wanted to do this thing called Boogeymen. You know how we have like the Boogeyman, where like the guy goes in the closet and scares you when you're a kid, and there's so many people that are be dubbed as the Boogeyman. Well, I wanted to do Boogeymen, where like there is like a whole, and this is kind of like Monsters Inc., but whatever. Um, like there's a whole like faction of boogeymen that are to all go on and come after people. Um, very specific people. It's not just to be anybody. Because if anything, the boogeyman's focus is to just kind of scare little kids and kind of have them grow character. Um, so they're actually good characters that are just misunderstood. So I would go on to eventually have that be a part of the episode. So not every episode is just going to be like, oh, this is going to be just like Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. No, we're going to get very creative with the show, and things are going to become very original. And like, I would try to avoid trying to just become uh, just a team that is just have one singular agenda. Like, I don't exactly want to become a Justice League Dark, even though I like Justice League Dark. I would like to have this team much more be like how the early Justice League of Society was, where you kind of have like a very well-rounded team of just all these random members, instead of it being uh, kind of like the Justice League where they have their seven, and each one of the seven have a very specific task. Like I just like whatever. Like no, like, and if anything, also like I guess like maybe either Wonder Woman or yeah, is Wonder Woman just the supernatural character because, or maybe Batman is because like I don't think they really have a supernatural character in that group. Uh, if I'm being honest. Uh, so somebody has to fit that quota in there. It's not Martian Manhunter. He's the alien guy. He's the sci-fi genre person. Yeah, there isn't anyone in a seven that actually fits the supernatural genre because Superman's weakness is supernatural power. I'm trying to figure this out. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Uh, uh, yeah, there was never in the original seven. There was never a character that had supernatural powers. There wasn't. Um, Hawk Girl, she was from space, so I guess it'd have to be Wonder Woman. Anyways, moot point. So, but I feel that there is some superpowers that has never been done before, and that's also one I want to focus on. There's this one character I created called author, writer, page. I have no idea what they're going to be called because it all depends on their gender. And there is this character that can go on and uh, and either draw on their body or can draw on anything, and whatever they draw, it appears. It becomes a thing. And that's something that I did want to go on and have become some kind of character. Good or bad, it's a character that ends getting used. They can draw stick figures, and then those stick figures can go on and assist them and have them work alongside them. So that is a character I really wanted to go on and have be a part of a show like this. So, and I'm telling you that now because at some point I'd gone on to talk about that in endless number of things. But this is a new video that somebody might have stumbled upon, so I'm saying that now. Uh, but that could be something that you could easily make within this show. Um, and things could get very creative with that character as long as there's prep time. Everything that I'm saying here will probably be well thought out via props and costumes and whatever before a director yells action. So it could be a possibility that before we start every episode, they can give us bullet points of what could be going on in the episode, and we could write a rough draft of items that we'll probably need, and then we can hand it to the prop guy or whoever, and they can come up with those things, and then we could go on and use them somewhere in the show. Because really, that's just going on and saying like, well, it's uh, like it's still kind of choose your own adventure, but at least you would know all these things exist ahead of time. You're not having to waste um, hours of uh, of just daylight just because you don't have this prop available. And you can go on and have this prop available and be able to use it in the show. And yeah, plus also there could be things that the show could make ahead of time, knowing what's going on in the episodes. That um, then we have to think of what it is because we know um, or they will know that's like, well, hey, I hope that this person should have came up with this idea, but they didn't. Um, because I would hope for the guy that can draw everything. I hope he could draw an exit door so we can escape through everything. That would be a good plan. Like that would be a way that we could always escape um, everything, and we could always just go on and be able to win um, each episode. Hopefully, unless we fail somewhere. Anyways, so and then maybe we could have a time traveler. I don't know. Time travel would be really cheating, right? Because if you had a time traveler, Like even if you fail the mission, like wait, what? We can go back in time and reverse that whole thing. That's why also I didn't want to go on and have a speedster on this team, because if you had a speedster, the speedster would go on and be able to knock out all the guards, and then or knock out all the goons or whatever, and then what are you left to do? Like just like okay, speedster, take out uh that main final boss guy, and then I'll just walk out of here and realize I did nothing. Cause yeah, like uh that's the biggest problem I think with Justice League is like when they have the Flash in there, or you kind of forget that even Superman has super speed. And Superman and the Flash would go on and kind of test how fast they are. So it would kind of ruin the Justice League episodes if Superman and the Flash both use their super speed. Uh, because really then like they could just so easily take everyone out. But so much time in the Justice League would you have to go on and quickly take out Superman in some way, because I'd seen it done countless times. The first thing that they would take out is Superman, and then they would leave the other six to just be like, okay, like, let's figure out how we can save Superman. Or ultimately, they would go on and they would take out a certain number of the Justice League, and then the rest of the team would just be like, well, okay, like the big guns are taken out now. What could we do? And that kind of became kind of annoying in the Justice League shows, because like plus also that makes me curious if any members of this team should actually have a weakness to anything. Because if they do, then and I'm sure there's going to be some characters that are probably going to be close to like being mostly human. Uh, so they will probably have weaknesses, like they could get shot and they could get killed like anybody, unless they have bulletproof skin. I won't have bulletproof skin because I didn't think that far. But anything, uh, here's my character. My character is going to be dead, so he doesn't need to breathe. He can see in the dark because he has night vision. Because shadow powers gives you night vision. Uh, he doesn't need to breathe. He doesn't. I don't know how you can pull it off from reality because you really can't. Um, uh, like he's dead, so there's a lot of things that um, don't affect him like normal people. So like that would be my way around of like, well, hey, if I'm getting gunshot, then it doesn't affect me like normal people. Like I can just pull the bullet out, um, or someone else pulls that out for me. And yeah, it'll probably hurt getting shot and then getting the bullet pulled out, but I won't die from it because I'm already dead. Or maybe no, I don't think my skin will be like a thing where the bullets just bounce off. That'd be stupid. But anyways, um, this is all hypothetical. I'm going way too in depth about this. I'm taking way too much time going into all this, but it could be uh yeah, because my character, from what I'm thinking of his origin, he'll already to have been dead, and he'll have come back. Um, which again, not reality based. Uh, but in superhero terms, like it doesn't really matter. Uh, but ultimately, there's like every superhero does have a weakness. It's just a way to exploit it. Uh, my weakness, I'm kind of tempted to kind of do like the Marvel character, the DC character, Shazam or Sleepwalker, where like I am to be a person that relies on another. Like I have a host that I'm kind of like the parasite, just kind of like latching onto. But I had this idea that my character could be the reflection of someone else, like again, the shadow of somebody. And eventually, when this person is in danger, then I appear. Um, and like that was my idea. But it is kind of really hard. It really is tough to try to think of how you can be the best possible character, but also need to rely on someone else to hope that it's like, yeah, this is going to be the best way to sell this character. And hope they're going to put up the best possible kind of performance, and who knows. Um, but really, when you think about it, I'm going to be also in a team of people that I have to also trust all of them. And that'll be weird. That'll be really weird. Um, but if anything, also, I'm just kind of throwing uh, kitchen sinks of ideas here. Let me know in the comments below what would be your superhero and what would be your power. Like, especially if you were involved in a reality show that did superheroes, and if you're seriously going to tell me that you're Super Dave or Super Steve or some bullshit like that, I'll be like, hey, thanks for the comment. But come on, like, maybe you had taken karate and maybe you're going to be Karate Steve or something. I don't know. But hopefully there's something more there than just um, maybe you'd like the training to become really good at acrobatics, and maybe you're going to be um, acromat or something. Or then that, I'd be like, wow, that's actually a pretty sweet name. All right. Like I'll go on, I'll take that as a superhero or a supervillain. Yeah. Whoever my character's name will be, I'll say it here. So of course, right now Sixon's recording because this name will probably not stick forever. San Skelebrand was just a really cool name that I thought of one day. And Sand way before that. Uh, but like if anything, I think before I settled on Skelebrand, I was thinking about calling this Corpse Brand, which sounded a little bit weirder, but uh, like because I was kicking around Death Brand, Corpse Brand, and then Skelebrand, and eventually I just settled on Skelebrand because it kind of seemed lesser of 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 evils there. Um, and the double S thing was just kind of cool to me. But maybe I can go on with Sand Corpse Brand as a name. Because heaven forbid I be more creative than really what I should be. But I like that whole Sand name, even though it's not actually my name whatsoever. It's just a name that I invented and just popped in there one day. Um, as well as any of this name is not actually my name. Because I've done plenty enough videos where I've gone on to mention what my real name is at some point. Um, but anyways, so but yeah, like maybe Sand Corpse Brand would eventually be a hero. Uh, that Corpse Brand. The reason why I say that is because like I would have a faction um, that I would call the Corpse Collective. Corpse Collective. It sounds like the Borg from Star Trek. But yeah, the Corpse Collective would be a faction that would all be characters that would have a name and it would be called Corpse Brand. And then when you get a group of them together, they'd be called the Corpse Collective. And eventually all these characters are supposed to be like reapers. They're supposed to be people that are to act very neutral in ways, but uh, if you go on and you have one of these corpse brand members go on and not be neutral, then that's when uh, the corpse brand, one of the corpse collective that is to act upon um, this member and say, hey, uh, you're you're not neutral. We all have to be neutral. What I got that from is an episode of the Real Ghostbusters, because there's this episode called Night Game, and Winston is to be part of this baseball team. And at one point, the Empire is to say, hey, um, there is good and evil, there is never neutral. And I would go on and be like, yeah, there is. There has to be. Um, there has to be somebody that is to play both sides. Um, so there has to be these people that are to be neutral. Or eventually, there is some kind of hierarchy going on where, because there has to be in the afterlife, there is a limbo, there is a purgatory, that is a very middle ground where people are to not end up in heaven or hell. There is a middle ground somewhere. So yeah, there is a neutral. Like if anything, there's a neutral in a car. Anyways, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here. So, uh, like further and further, I had really gone on and thought this through, and I'd taken that time to do a video talking about all this stuff. Where is it going to go? Absolutely nowhere. But at least I took the time to talk about all this stuff, and hopefully at some point this does become an actual project. Uh, I'd always want to eventually like make a comic book out of something. Uh, so maybe if nothing else, uh, maybe we'll just go on and make this thing a comic book project if nothing else. But then again, I'd have to find the perfect person to do that. But anyways, because it'll probably never actually be a show. It would be fun if it was a show. Um, but like it probably would not be a thing where you'd obviously know that the cameras are there. It would probably be one of those where it's kind of like Zombieverse, where it's just a life happening and somebody's there to film it and they're not pointing out the cameras. Um, and that could be a thing. Uh, it's kind of funny on that Zombieverse show how you never see the cameraman either. That is so strange. Um, because that's either, man, those cameramen are really good with their zooms, or like that show was really way less way less original than I thought it was. Maybe that show is heavily scripted, but just in a what looks like a reality background. Plus, also, uh, I would be interested to just find out any little bit of information from that show. Um, if the reality thing was just very loose, or like how they were to go on and figure out how to time the show. Kind of interesting to just find out that bit of information, but if anything, oh well. Um, but I always love the kind of like the behind the scenes stuff of projects, just to be like, man, how did they do that? Um, like when did they eat? When did they take a dump? Because they showed some of that in some of the show. But anyways, um, the one problem that I would probably have with a superhero show is obviously how to perfectly do the outfits. Because, in all honesty, I would like to try to do costumes that definitely are not one piece, or definitely show off way too much skin, or definitely are to go on and be things that make it challenging for somebody to take a dump or pee. So if anything, every single one of the costumes are definitely going to go on and not be a one piece thing. Like, I don't care if it's going to be something that just looks cosmetically better. If it is a one piece, no. We're going to do two piece. Um, because really, if anything, like, we're going to go on and try to make it best for because I would go on and watch so many superhero and so many uh, just projects where they wouldn't care about the comfort of the actors, and like, yeah, when these people have to go to the bathroom, like it's an hour long process to take all this off, and I'm like, this is crazy. Like, man, um why would you want to do a day of filming in this? um like, if you're just gonna be worried all the time, man, I gotta take a dump, I gotta pee, I gotta whatever. um Man, if you're filming on location, you're probably gonna go on and want to be tempted to take a dump in the woods, or you're gonna want to pee off to the side of the road, because you just want to go on and want to relieve yourself. Anyways, so I'm taking the time to talk about this and take the time to, like, because it's for a project like this, it's really should be about camaraderie. It should all be about like working as a team. and trying to put the best product out there and trying to do it safely. It should go on and not like because also um when watching a show like Zombieverse, you're like, well, I hope nobody got hurt doing that show. Because I actually do care about that. Um, because it's like, man, that guy hit the wall pretty hard. Ugh, hopefully he didn't get injured. Yeah, I question that stuff. Um, like I questioned if anybody got hurt during the show. Uh, because yeah, um, because I'm sure you don't get paid enough, and then you get hurt doing this show. This show of all things, you get hurt doing it. A zombie show. Anyways, um, but that's the level. Like that's the level of like, well, not thinking. I'm not thinking of a zombie as just a zombie because it's a reality show. Uh, a reality show is very different than a live action movie because probably a pay scale, right? But also, like, it really does matter because really, like, all these people are just performers. All these people are actors, and there are certain stuntmen that die doing movies and die doing shows, um, and they're kind of forgotten about. Uh, so that's why I care. But if anything, a project like this, I would want to do it because of how much I care about the comic book genre, and I want to do something new uh, in this genre. So let's go on and call this a video. Goodbye, everybody. Bye, everybody.